How's it going, my fellow Pennyworths or Butlers? You know what, I don't know what to call you guys because I don't really make Pennyworth videos all that often, but since then, you know, I haven't really been keeping mega on top of it because I didn't really cover it on an episode by episode basis on the channel. However, for those of you that do care about this show, which I don't think is a huge bunch of people, but still, you know, if you're in the Bat fam, you're in the Bat audience, and you really love the nit and grit of every single kind of show out there, then definitely there's got to be some people on this channel who watch Pennyworth and do appreciate the decent show that it is. And yes, I just called it decent to all the naysayers out there because seriously, if you're looking for a more of an R-rated, a lot more grittier than what you would expect, and I know it sounds like I'm trying to sell this to you, and maybe I am, and that is because you should be watching it if you haven't given it a chance already. I think the thing about this show is that some people think prequel series, again, you know, we had Gotham, but now we have another one, which is like a prequel to Gotham, low-key, and it's like, really? But there is story there. And it is giving this exploration into Alfred in his younger days, which is definitely deserved because Alfred has been a character who's been there, very present in Batman's career, but also has a whole history of stuff to him that hasn't really been explored up until recent years. And Sean Pertwee's Alfred is my favorite Alfred out of Gotham, and they gave a lot of development and backstory to him, which was existent in the source material, but now we actually got to see a bit more of a younger Alfred with, you know, the David Mazouz Bruce Wayne in that show. But now we're diving into a lot more of a younger Alfred, where, as I said, R-rated action. And the reason why I wanted to kind of start off this video like that is because I can imagine there's going to be some comments saying, who cares about Pennyworth? But there are some of us that do, and today's video is about dissecting all of the new information coming out of DC FanDome for the upcoming season 2, and there is a lot more than what I thought, including new characters, a potential baby, and, well, pregnancy, if you will, for Martha. I wonder who that is, and then a little bit more, so let's get into this. Now, what is very handy, if you didn't get a chance to check out every panel at DC FanDome, including this Pennyworth one, obviously this video is for that, but also the moderator, who also happened to write this article for IGN, Laura Prudhomme, summed it all up in this article that I'll be leaving in the top pin comment down below. But hey, this is what this video is for as well, but just in case you want to read it for yourself. She starts off by saying, of course, production is back underway for Pennyworth season 2 because of the whole virus situation. It was a casualty of all of that. And she swiftly dives into the biggest news coming out of the panel was the impending introduction of the iconic Batman character, Lucius Fox, although creator and showrunner Bruno Heller also noted that there's little bits of Batman stuff that's coming in that I don't want to talk about because that stuff is best left as a surprise, and those who get it, and those who don't. So keep your eyes peeled throughout season 2. Now, first of all, I want to talk about that, and there's quite a bit more to discuss, so I'll keep this brief. But I don't want to, well, I mean, I have your opinions, but I don't want to really see comments of, oh, it's just one of those shows where they kind of lean on the shoulders of Batman. So that's not what really Bruno Heller means here. Obviously, Pennyworth is a show that incorporates Thomas Wayne in it. If you've seen season 1, you know what I'm on about. If you haven't even seen the show, I would say don't comment, like watch it first, and I'm sure you will be kind of low-key impressed or like surprised with how good it is, because I think that is why, you know, as I said, I started off this video like that, because a lot of people put a judgment on, you know, oh, another prequel series. So with this Batman stuff being sprinkled throughout, what I think Bruno Heller means there is it's going to be very little tidbitty stuff. And one thing that I think would surprise a lot of people is that I find shows like Gotham and Pennyworth, the core audience, of course, will be Bat Family fans to an extent, but I would say a huge majority of these audiences for these shows aren't actually into comics. They don't really watch a bunch of superhero shows. What actually happens is they happen to stumble across this program or show by chance or on a streaming service, and then they just like the characters. I've met so many people and found interesting comments on Gotham and Pennyworth who just genuinely get encapsulated by the cast, the premise, the plot, and all of that. So when it comes to these Batman comments, I think that's kind of obvious when you have a show surrounding stuff like this. I don't think there's going to be literal Batman stuff that is coming in as Bruno Heller says it. I don't think he means it as literal as that. But, you know, with the introduction of Lucius Fox and obviously Martha being pregnant, which we're about to get to, you're going to kind of have a few interesting things and pointers that may kind of be like, oh, I understood that reference reference, if you know what I mean, but it will fly over a lot of other fans' heads. But carrying on the route of Lucius Fox, Heller shared a few more details with IGN, revealing in our exclusive interview that he'll make his first appearance in episode 4 of Pennyworth Season 2. So he goes on to say he comes in very unexpectedly, not in a role or a situation you would expect to find him in. And it's been really fun writing him as a character because he's one of those characters that, like Alfred himself, has got a rich canonical history. Great people have played him, and so it's cheating, really, because there's already a weight to the character. So you have to find a way of living up to expectations and surprising people at the same time, making him consonant with all the great portrayals that have come before. And yet again, I love the way Bruno Heller kind of sums it up there. That really is what Pennyworth is, just because these are, air quotes, kind of, prequel shows, doesn't mean that there can't be development, a lot of fleshed out story added to these characters' backgrounds that I think, well, a lot of fans are actually interested in. And I, for one, am really enjoying seeing that side of kind of Thomas Wayne, and whether that's, Alfred, and seeing him, how he became the guy that Bruce looked up to and even taught him quite a bit of what he knows, not even from just his travels around the world, and I'm talking about Bruce here, but, Alfred did teach a lot to Bruce as well at the same time, and that's one of my favorite things about Sean Pertwee's portrayal of Alfred and his relationship with Bruce in Gotham, which is what Pennyworth is really trying to establish the vibes of with their Alfred. Lastly, for Lucius Fox, the casting is still underway, but Bruno Heller did say that we're going to cast someone consonant with the goodness and the richness of the history of that character. Now, the article goes on to say that Season 2 starts a year after the events of the Season 1 finale, and as Heller explained during our interview, Lord Harwood is running a fascist regime that essentially has taken over most of the country. London is under siege, and so it's a bit like, well, there's any number of historical references, but the siege of Barcelona, this one city that is the only hope left for the good guys, is holding out against a much larger, much more powerful force, and Martha is a fighter in that battle, kind of a street fighting woman. Her almost lover, Thomas, comes back with far more responsibility than what he had when he left. He's been made CIA station chief. It's a kind of careerist move, but it intensifies the conflict he feels between what he knows is right and what he can see is being presented to him as policy he has to follow. The other bombshell that Heller dropped during the panel, also related to the future Thomas and Martha Wayne, is this season, Martha gets pregnant. Now, as for the IGN article and what they have to say about that, they say that since Thomas and Martha aren't even married yet and are apparently embroiled in a civil war for the fate of England, we're guessing that the bun in Martha's oven won't turn out to be a bat, but it will certainly create further complications in their relationship. Now, I don't know if they're saying that this is like perhaps a brother or a sister to Bruce that just unfortunately maybe Martha never carried to like full term, whether that's because of a complication. I don't know what they're getting at here, because the way I take it is that this is the pregnancy of Bruce Wayne, but yet again they have this could be like 12 years before Thomas and Martha Wayne would be killed. 13, I guess, around the time if you include the pregnancy, which you could argue would turn out about right, but then again you could argue that maybe this is a long lost sibling to Bruce before when they get married and then yet again get pregnant with their only child, Bruce Wayne. So yeah, it totally is possible that one thing that could be added to Thomas and Martha Wayne's history is perhaps a miscarriage or something, just kind of, I don't know, adds a bit of tragic past and maybe bonds them closer together. It's quite an interesting thing to speculate about. But of course, fans at the same time are going to be looking into Lincoln March, which is obviously the New 52 kind of Court of Owls storyline, which is Bruce Wayne's younger brother. And in that storyline, Lincoln was actually just basically abandoned and left in the care of the hospital after obviously Thomas Wayne and Martha were murdered. If they actually do broach this story with Lincoln and it isn't Bruce, then it's kind of self-explanatory. This will be like a new innovative take on whatever they're going to do with that. Who knows as well? Another idea is that, the baby is delivered. Maybe it's called Lincoln, but maybe just passes away at a young age. Thomas and Martha get married and then have Bruce. This is a new, innovative, treading new ground on canon. Like, this is a prequel. They're open to do anything. But I'd love to hear your speculations as to who the baby is. Bruno Heller goes on to say that because of both of their roles, the conflict that was kind of implicit in their relationship, but was almost comical, is now deadly serious because he's CIA station chief and she's a confidant of the no-name League leadership. And she does know things, and she is doing things that the CIA wants to know about. And then the CIA does things. He's forced into doing things that really turn her against him as a moral being. But at the same time, they're falling in love with each other. In wartime, those kind of relationships, strange things happen, and things happen very fast and intensely. So on one hand, it's a slow boil. On the other hand, it's a flashpoint in their relationship. Now, as for Alfred, he goes on to say that Alfie's running a club called Delaney's, which is essentially like Rick's in Casablanca, the one place in town where there's a neutral zone in the center of London, where everyone meets to do business. So he's at the calm center of the storm, as it were, and part of being that calm center of the storm is he takes no sides. Inevitably, though, he is drawn back into the conflict. He is simply there trying to raise enough money to get out of London and get to America. He's decided, after killing his father, London has very few charms for him. His mum doesn't want him to leave, but he's desperate to leave, and everything that happens to him follows from that desire to get out and the difficulty of doing so. And also, guys, the Queen is back. Absolutely. Alfie's not a good boyfriend, I'll put it that way, and their relationship reflects that. And we did play that out, but she's also now a queen in wartime and has taken on a more serious and essential hands-on role in running the country because it's the last resort. They're in the last redoubt. And as for the scene-stealing Bet Sykes, Heller told IGN that people around Lord Harwood really didn't want the Sykes sisters hanging around because it's not a good look. She's too much of a loose cannon, so she's been promoted. She's working in a Raven interrogation center, and she meets someone there that I don't want to say too much because, you know, the best thing about Bet's stories is they're always surprising, but she falls in love in her own way, and that leads her to do dangerous things. So everyone, that was a lot of Pennyworth information for season 2. It all sounds like it's piping up to be another entertaining season. From what I just spoke about, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Alfred try and get out of England and then to America, because we all know where he eventually ends up. I don't think that means we're ever going to see Gotham. I mean, maybe when the series ends, you could argue they could do that. And if they were to do that, do you think that it would look just like the Gotham from Gotham? I mean, it technically should. And obviously this whole show shares very much so these kind of alternate historical vibes that was present in the Gotham show. But ultimately, without going on too much further, I mean, I could talk about the Queen and the romance there with Alfred, but, you know, I'm looking forward to see where the little antics get us with that, and also Bet Sykes, of course. But if you are a Pennyworth fan, of course, I would love to know what you're most excited for out of the information we discussed today in this video. But also, if you haven't watched Pennyworth yet, and somehow you made it to this point of the video, why haven't you watched it, or why did you drop off of it? Maybe a few episodes in, maybe it just wasn't for you. But ultimately, if you somehow got to this point of the video and you haven't watched it, check it out. You might surprise yourself. Maybe you're just put off by the fact that it's a prequel, and why do you care about getting into that? But these stories definitely do deserve to be explored, and they do it in a very interesting way, so I do recommend it. And let me know if you want to see more Pennyworth videos. I just thought, why not? It's an extra little video for you guys, so go ahead and like it if you did enjoy it. Of course, subscribe for more videos just like this. But thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.